So, and I will introduce. So, the first gentleman is Hans Luik. He's the shareholder of Ekspress Grupp, one of the major leading media group in Estonia and also in Baltics, as you could see from my presentation. Then we have Olga Sihmane, and she is representative of Telia company, which is also one of the major telecom companies operating in Baltics and also in Scandinavia. And then we have Baiba Zuzina. Nice to see you. And she is CEO of All Media Baltics, and Baiba is actually a veteran of TV channels and TV business in Baltic countries. So I'm really honored to see all of you here. But so Hans, maybe I can start then with you, because you saw these examples and I mentioned you already so many times. If you could tell maybe a bit about these experiments, how you are trying to reach audience now, maybe in a new ways, because of these channels and content has changed so much.
Yes, thank you, Inga. It really is a very thrilling experience to try to reach out for audiences who also would be willing to pay. And we have been trying several ways to package our produce in Estonia, and as Inga Springe told the audience, the same audience earlier today, we are going to launch this experiment also in Latvia. So what are we relying on? I don't know whether Olga might have heard about it, might not, but we have been investing into one startup called Slick, and the idea is that we are basing the payment directly on the link with the telecom. So instead of having to identify you and tip in your ID card and other data, you will just with one push be able to purchase one article or one subscription for a month or a year, semi-annual subscription. So the payment has been made so easy that this method, which I strongly advise everybody who's working in media in this audience, you could try or promote. This method has made it so much easier to subscribe for a particular bits of media or video or articles in Estonia. So our sales of particular bits, articles or videos has been growing like 3 to 4 times. And it might be hurting our monthly or yearly subscriptions. So we are now also trying to sell our subscriptions. But the trick is to make it easy to pay. Right now we have our newspapers. We also, some packaged with magazines have up to 20,000 paying subscribers, and it has been a hell of a work, lots of mistakes, but we are very happy.
Actually, I have one more question about magazines, because as I mentioned, magazine business is really affected. And in Latvia, I think so far as I know, all magazine publishers are not so much focused on digital to give their content on digital. You did this repackaging, you're offering now together magazines with newspaper content. How does it work? How willing people are to pay for magazine content on digital?
Yes, I know that one of your best journalists and editors, Nelja Lotsmäele of IR, is also puzzled with this problem. We found that it's a dead end to try to sell digital subscriptions for magazines, because the sites of the magazines are not changing so quickly as you would like to have. So at the same time offering your Delfi newsfeed that are 480 pieces on the average in a day, broadcast by the Delfi platform, like videos, people's comments, articles, photos, galleries, almost 500. So you would not expect a magazine site, whether paid for or free, to be as vivid, as lively and interesting. They would not be competing. About weekly magazines, there is a chance. Monthlies, no way, to my mind.
Okay, thank you. Olga, let's go telecom companies, like as I mentioned. So maybe you can in short describe how much of your content it's like your own, originally produced, and how much you just offer other content produced by, I don't know, like I mean like other TV channels as an internet provider? And how do you differentiate how much in proportions of all these both spheres?
All right, well, first of all, let me start by what is a telecom business. And of course, we have underlying infrastructure that enables us to have the discussion today. People follow online in the live broadcast. Those of you who are on your phones and checking your emails in real time or tweeting. So we have the mobile infrastructure, we have the fixed infrastructure. And for many years already, we're the TV provider. So a lot of you probably have still a box in your living room. And from there, you can see through the IPTV mostly, which is what is really growing, you can get access to both your local and global channels. So for us, of course, our traditional telecom business is very much under pressure. So we as an industry are trying to look for new sources of revenue. And we are already there. We are already in people's homerooms, living rooms. We're already on people's phones, on people's laptops. So we are looking at how to generate content. For the time being, of course, we're very much a distributor. So we buy rights from rights holders, such as BIBA's organization or other broadcasters globally, and we provide them to our consumers. But we are starting to look into producing our own original content. And in the Baltic states, what you can see, for example, is that we will have on our platforms our own channel which will do a pop-up broadcast, for example, at a festival like today. So some of the live broadcast is done by Lat.telecom. So you can see it in their shortcut app and follow the discussions at this festival. We will do partnership also with a number of festivals, conferences, big events in the countries. We've done that in Estonia. There's basically about once a month pop-up channel. We do it here in Latvia. We do it also in Lithuania. We do also different partnerships with content producers. And I'll go for this one in Estonia as well, where we will, for example, fund some of the film producers at the early stage of their film production. And for that, we get exclusivity in terms of broadcasting those films once they've been in the cinema. So that's another way. But the third way, of course, is really going deep into production of content. In the Baltic states, we don't necessarily have that still on a big scale. But what we are doing and where Telia is really pioneering is we've recently announced that we are buying Bonnier Broadcasting, which is one of the most successful media houses in our Baltic Nordic region. And there we're really buying the media production expertise where there's TV, there's entertainment programs, etc. And that, after the necessary regulatory clearances, hopefully will be part of our portfolio.
But you mentioned that you are also maybe being like a partners at the early stage of movies. It means something kind of like what Netflix is doing. It's the same kind of model where you are hitting them.
Well, we are providing them funding when they're producing the content.
But then they will give their content to you afterwards.
Yeah, and then we have exclusive rights to show it for a certain period of time.
So it seems like out of your like main conclusion of your answer is that yes, you are also kind of looking and a bit or like focusing quite much now also on producing yourself a content.
Yes, I mean, you will have different opinions of that, but we see that as a future of our business. This is where we're going. And in this space, in the content media space, and of course I'm mostly talking about video right now, in this content phase, both the ways of consuming content, the ways of producing content, the ways of distributing content is changing so rapidly that we're going to see so much change going forward. And for the time being, there's different models, and we believe there's going to be different models that will continue. So it's both our own original content, it's both partnerships, and then it's the classical buying the rights and transmitting the content.
Okay.
Inga, can I ask a question from Olga? There's now a very intriguing process going on it is that in the biggest of the Baltic states, the biggest TV station, the LNK, is for sale. Is Telia going to participate? Are you interested in buying legacy TV, or you think it's a gone thing already?
Well, I wouldn't be possibly able to comment publicly on our M&A strategy, Hans. You know that very well.
But it's a good try. Hans is a former journalist. You can see it. It's in your blood. It never dies. Baiba, how do you feel when you hear Olga saying that they are also looking more in producing content? Because it's like it's a huge competition for you, no?
I think it's just logical. Everybody is looking for ways to grow, and as we just heard, it's quite right that it's not enough just to be a distributor. You have to have access to the content, and when we think on our business development, I would say that there are stages on how you have to look at it. The first thing is really, yes, now today we are very strong in TV, but we see how digital is influencing all the industries, including TV. At the same time, what we see now, and we already know today, we have TV linear platforms, and we also are present on digital platforms. And what we see that the local content, local affairs, be it information, be it news, be it entertainment, people are interested in local affairs, and that's what drives not only TV consumption but also digital consumption, because on all the platforms the most of the content consumed there is local. So this is where we start. The further step is so how do we kind of present it? And as you mentioned earlier, it's quite arrogant to think that people will come to us. We have to go places where there are, and have to look for the ways they are ready to consume the content, and serve them the content all the ways they are ready to consume it, and they are ready to pay for it. Be it advertising, if they are not wanting to pay and they are wanting to see the advertising, be it subscription, be it transaction, which becomes more and more important way of putting the price tag on. So these are the ways, and this has been our approach, and that's how we are going to evolve further. And I think the one thing which has not been mentioned today is the size of our markets, which is small. And in Latvia we have another challenge, that we are bilingual society, so this divides even more. So we have to think how we can keep our strengths in the local markets, because the big players, YouTube, Facebook, they are there, and they are here to stay. They won't go anywhere. And basically there are two things how to look at it. One is that they don't pay taxes here, so this is the state's thing to look into that. The other thing is also how are we treated by the local governments, because recently we have had several new laws adopted which influences the advertising, and it influences the local advertisers, local medias, not the international ones. And this is what is happening. And in the light of the recent new ideas, blaming journalists on everything they don't like which are being said, so basically it doesn't make our life easier, but this is what it is, and we just have to accept it. The way how free journalism has been attacked lately on the political level is also something we should be concerned about. But again, this is the fact, and we have to live with it. And in regards to the content and the business, how we can develop business, the one thing is that if we want to grow, obviously we have to grow our viewers and our revenues, but we have to manage our business also wisely and efficiently. So in our house, in All Media Baltics, all recent discussions has been how to align all the administrative work and content production work. So we do it not like for TV and adapt for digital, but we do it like on at the same time for multi-platform use. This is not very popular topic, and obviously people are not happy that, yesterday I was producing only content for TV. Today I have to produce it for all the platforms, and I shouldn't be jealous that it goes firstly on digital and not wait for TV, but we are also very much discussing how we have to do this transformation, because there is no ready recipe. And all of us today, when we were telling on what we are doing, all of us are kind of inventing, and we are learning by doing, looking for the best way. But the thing that we have to change and we have to evolve, and media consumption habits are changing so rapidly that we have to evolve and adapt on the daily basis. It's not like you transform, continue. It's transform and evolve constantly.
Can you give an example? What do you mean by now that you have these discussions in-house, how that you should produce kind of simultaneously content for different kind of platforms? Like one example, I don't know, journalists come back from a news event, what it will change in his or her life now?
Looking just also following up on what you said in this Axios case. So basically, the one thing is quite here, that news are not breaking anymore on TV. It's just a fact, because when you read your live news feed on Facebook, you read all the facts, and it's a lot of facts and it's a lot of crap there. So basically, we have to change the way how we look at the TV news broadcast in the night. What is there, and contextualizing, explaining, putting on various opinions is something we should do on the newscast in the night, while on daily basis, exactly, I'm going to the place of events, I'm making few photos there, I'm making few notes and putting it on social network or publishing it on our news site. So it's the life cycle of the news is kind of changing, and the role of the journalist is also changing. And recently I was in Cannes where Euronews were telling how they're changing, and their ambition is to become the first news channel to produce all the news using just iPhone. So this is the ambition, basically, that they are making their journalists universal soldiers who's going to go out there and basically do all the work, because we are having also quite a lot of discussions in regards to the quality. TV people are always in very high, they are demanding very high quality, the picture quality. But nowadays we see that, just being present, presenting some unique thing might be much more important compared to the picture quality. So there is a lot of kind of different discussion narratives.
And still, last question for you. I know we're focusing now on you, but you launched in mid-September this new like your video on demand platform where also people can subscribe now different packages. How does it work so far? Are you satisfied, and what are your expectations?
I would say we didn't launch, we relaunched it and rebranded it. It's working well. We are learning by doing and stuff. So what we see and what is a very clear trend is that the content which drives both advertising-funded video on demand and subscription-funded video on demand, so basically is no big surprise, but it's local content. So even we look at Netflix as a superstar worldwide, and it is, no doubt about it, locally people want to see content which they know, which they recognize. So basically we are questioning ourselves now, if we would try to produce brand new series, for instance, and launch it just on SVOD platform, would it be a good idea? At the current moment, the first conclusion is not so sure.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I just want to build up on this a little bit of an idea of local content. So what we see in terms of our customer base is that our customers are both global and local. So the customers, I mean, all of you, whether you have Netflix, whether you watch videos on YouTube, Facebook, you follow the international movie stars, you know what recent movies are out, what shows, what are the breaking news elsewhere. But at the same time, if we look at this, kind of the top 10 TV programs in Latvia, they're 10 out of 10 are Latvian-based content. It's the same thing in Estonia. It's the same thing in Lithuania. It's the same thing in Sweden. It's 9 out of top 10 TV programs. In Finland, 10 out of 10. So, yes, we see in Hollywood the tendency is towards bigger franchises. So, for example, now the big Hollywood studios get 65% of their revenue from titles that are 100 million or more. So huge movies, huge franchises. Whereas 6 years ago, it was below 50%. So it's really the media market on a global level is narrowing. But at the same time, we have the possibility on platforms like Netflix really target the customers. And we have the local aspect of it. And who's going to produce local content? I mean, I'm sorry, but it's not going to be Netflix. It's going to be the local producers, the local media companies, and it's going to be telcos, whether in partnership with the local media companies or alone, or in whichever way the business, the commercial proposition actually will work.
Okay, and then I want to ask to Hans, how do you feel from because you're not so much on TV, also you are developing a lot, but how do you feel for print, how telecom could cooperate?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, speaking on those big titles, also here, if we speak on entertainment content, the one thing is we produce the series, the particular episodes we put online. This is one thing. But everything we produce around it, be it behind the scenes or the actors reading nasty comments on or Twitter. So it's all goes. So everything you can build around it. It goes. So it is really about the biggest part of our attention. Content people are using on our platforms is about big titles and the content around it.
But how can you sell it to advertisers when you offer like, okay, you can post your ads here. Do you offer it all as a whole package? So your ad will be on TV, on desktop, also on our social media. Does advertisers count it all together, or they just want to see, okay, it's only TV where we are focusing?
We are offering creative solutions on multi-platform basis. Currently, the main challenge not only Latvian media market is having, but international medias is how to introduce multi-platform measurements, because there is measurement present on TV, on digital, but it's really hard to cross-platform them. And I don't think that any country has found the right solution for that as today.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So Hans, if you could tell a bit how your experience with telecoms, especially for like not print but digital content, which is not video, for example.
Well, we have been associating with one of Estonian telecoms. We have 3 actually in the market in order to try again to sell our digital products in their package, and it had great leverage, and half of the clients were not loyal, the other half was willing to prolong. So, how I say it now is I assume that Delfi and our competitors are doing a fairly good work in broadcasting news, video series. I hear that Jānis Domburs and the Delfi teams have been quite active. I saw it also from our cost side, of course, reflecting and mirroring your elections in Latvia. And I think that we sooner or later will find our ways to a cooperation or one of the other legacy TV channels or the telecom in order to leverage our news, the product of our newsrooms, which I hear that we are pretty reliable according to the sociological research. So we are doing this particularly well in Lithuania. It is that one of our news anchors, parallel to your Jānis Domburs, I would say, is having an evening show on LNK TV studios, complete with Delfi trademarks. So they are happy because they can cut their costs on news, and we are happy we can leverage the good products of our newsroom. That's how I see the imminent future coming.
Mm-hmm. Just shortly, I very much support what you're saying, and I think in the markets with sizes like ours, we really, obviously we are competition, but we have to try to think also on the country level, because we are competing really not between ourselves, but with those big fang guys, YouTube and Google. And I hear that on European level there are already big countries are trying to make common video platform to promote content there, because it's really hard to compete with those big guys.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, Yuri.
Yes. There is an issue with. Well, I can see why Telia is sort of trying to catch up with Lat Telecom and others in making its own or packaging its own content. Everybody is sort of running away from being a bit pipe. At the same time, you have issues for content makers such as your Baiba's group there. When Lat Telecom launches a new interface for its interactive TV, which has been burning Twitter for months and in waves because they did it progressively. It didn't mean Twitter. I volunteered to get the new service, Halio, first, and then my wife nearly ran me out of the house for that because she was used to the old one. So that was more of an in-person thing. But then there was a storm on Twitter, and which means that your content, people are trying to look at your content, trying to see what they lie better, or what is it called? Yeah, 2 days ago that they missed, and they can't find it, and old granny can't see the letters, and it's just been going on and on. So isn't this an incentive for you to, I think, let me pronounce this right, to disintermediate and put up a thing like Skatties.lv, where nobody, you don't have to use the Lat Telecom interface. You can look at old programs. You can look. I mean, how does that all fit together? I mean, you guys are trying to make content, yet you have an interface that is screwing up people's ability to watch content. I mean, not you, Telia. I mean, Lat Telecom, and yet you obviously see this.
Technologies are technologies. Nothing is perfect. So that's the thing, and we all know that. I think I have to come back to where I started, that we shouldn't be as arrogant to think that people will come to us. We have to go to them. So basically, we want to be everywhere where they are, and we want to give the content in any way they want to consume it, and put the price tag in all the ways there is in the market. That's our attitude, and that's what's going to stay here. And I'm aware of the problems of the change of the platform, but as I say, it's technology, and unfortunately, nothing works from the day one as we want it to work.
I will answer to this. I'm sorry, I'm buzzing. I will answer this in two different ways. Well, perhaps. First of all, telecom companies becoming successful also in content requires different sorts of expertise. And already what we see in pure television distribution service is that you don't just need the technology bit, the infrastructure, the actually bringing the video to the people, but you also need the expertise in designing the correct user interfaces in a way that's intuitive, in the way that's easy to use, in the way that delivers what you need to people. That's one thing. However, also, what is important is that if you disintermediate, then you as a consumer will need to go to this provider and that provider and a fourth provider to get your content. But what we provide is we provide the aggregation for you. So you have your services, you have your traditional local channels, you have perhaps your HBO as well, you also have your access to Netflix through your IPTV. It's all together. You pay for it once, it's in one place, and on top of it, you can start watching it at home and then go walk around, and while you wait for your doctor's appointment for 15 minutes, because as we know, doctors are usually late for their appointments, you can continue watching your series or your news product, etc. So that's how I would come back to your question.
Thank you. So my last question, it's very selfish, it's just for me. As from investigative journalism point of view, did I hear correctly that there is kind of hope that we might maybe be able to earn money from companies like yours by selling our product to you in a video format, and there would be interest for you, like companies, to buy content?
I'm not sure that's exactly what we're looking at right now. But again, as I said, this space, both the content production, the content consumption is changing so rapidly that frankly, 5-10 years from now, it can be completely different than it is today.
Okay, I hope it will be already sooner than 5 years from now. Thank you very much. Thank you for the speakers, and thank you for your joining. So don't go away. I'm sure there will be excellent next speech. And yes, thank you.